Whilst I had my coffee this morning, I watched a fascinating video on how the Japs don't use central heating, and I thought, oh, just like myself. No, that's actually a bit of a misnomer. Inaccurate. We do have a coal fired boiler which warms radiators in the house. However, it was changed a number of years ago, and the new system just is not as good as the old system, and I don't like it. Which means that during the winter, it is cold in my room. Now, I don't know what the temperature is. My ears hurt. Therefore, if I had to estimate, I'd say 14 degrees, which is low 60s in old money. I'm trying to get a bit better with the 300 million or so people in the world of nearly 7,000 million, which still use the Fahrenheit system, because, I find it interesting that you use a thermal measurement different to myself, and it was one up until a few generations ago that was used in my country. In fact, you'll still have a few old folk that use Fahrenheit, and I just find it a very silly system because it's based on horse blood, but that's neither here nor there. Right, let's get a fire going. I think the conclusion of the video was no point having central heating in old Japanese homes because the insulation was insufficient, and also that means they're quite good for summer, as they're relatively cool and you've got plenty of ventilation. But also they've kept on that philosophy with the modern build, so rather than having central heating, you have individual radiators for each room, and that way you only heat up a room you're in, which, much like my system, I mean, I've got a house, there's, how many rooms in this house? Let me think. So, and that bit there, there's 1, 2, 3, so there's 3 rooms there. We won't include the loft. So there's 3 rooms there, and then there's the kitchen and the living room, so that's 5 rooms, and then there's a dining room, that's 6. This room is the 7th, and there's 2 bedrooms, so I've got 9 rooms in this house, not including the loft. And of those 9 rooms, most of my time is spent in this one. Therefore, it makes sense, especially considering how old and drafty it is, and the insulation's not that good. The walls are not that thick. I mean, they're thick, but they're not that thick. It makes sense just to heat up one room. And this room, by the way, it wasn't even designed as I call it my study. So some people could say it's a living room. It's too small to be a living room. But it wasn't even for a domestic purpose like that. Originally, it was, sort of getting into the weeds here. I've never really spoken about my house and the history of it. Farrier's quarters. So where I am now is the forge, and a small blacksmith fire could be maintained here, and that would be enough to repair horseshoes and make new ones as and when they were needed. As horses would come here, they'd be swapped out for new horses, and whilst they were having downtime and recovering from their arduous journey from Abingdon or Oxford or other places, it was a journey. I just thought, okay, I'll dox myself. All right, people would travel from Oxford to go to Stratford upon Avon to see Shakespeare's plays. So there'd be various stops you could stop along the way. And where I live was the farrier's quarters, so this would be the blacksmith's, or the farrier room, and forge. And then I suppose upstairs is where they'd live, their lodging. Yeah. Yeah. Not so many horses on the road these days. In fact, I can't remember the last time I saw a horse. Oh yeah, and I'm still poorly, so as you can see, voice is suffering a bit, but it no longer hurts to swallow. Sleeping a lot too. 8 hours sleep through the night, and about 2 or 3 hours sleep during the day. It's brilliant, love it. I was exhausted. I do like travel, I do, but I think I do a bit too much of it. So next holiday I take, I think I'll just find a quiet village somewhere, go and rent a hotel for a week. Maybe I'll get the bus somewhere. Not even rent a car, just go and say to the bus driver, "You drive me. I'm going to have a beer." And yeah, I like the idea of that. That's a nice relaxing holiday. Otherwise, I know what will happen. I'll go with a bunch of friends and I'll say, "Oh, I don't feel like drinking. I'll do the driving," because I do enjoy driving. And they'll just make me the designated driver all week. And then it's not really a holiday because I'm just worn out doing all the driving on foreign roads. And if I know where I'll be going on holiday, I can imagine it'll be mountainous because I like mountains. And the two places I know with mountains, which are absolutely lovely to go on holiday, is Cyprus or Canary Islands. It's probably somewhere in Croatia I'm not familiar with. Answers down below. Is there a good place like Croatia, like Cyprus or Canaries, where in less than an hour you can be at the mountains in the snow, or then you can be down at the coast? Because I remember that once driving up the Troodos Mountains, and then there was this car and had a snowman on the bonnet, and it's absolutely baking, 35 degrees. That's 100 Fahrenheit for the colonials. And you're travelling up the mountains and there's a snowman on it, and you get into the mountains, it's like, yeah, it's snow here, and it's -5 degrees, and it's lovely. We had some jumpers on, and it was a good cold. It was amazing, really. It was just thought, right, a bit too cold now. Come on, let's go. And we had cheese sandwiches and apples, and I really liked that. Just seemed to be like a really good combination. But after an hour or two, had enough of that. Decided to drive back down the mountain again, and just it was amazing how the very quickly the air changed and got hot again, and marvelous. Anyway, next time I go on the holiday, I'm not doing any driving. I'm going to get there, going to go into the hotel, and then I'm going to enter myself into the competition of most the laziest tourist what doesn't do anything, because I think I'll be in a good contender to win. What's the point of going on holiday if you just spend time in a hotel room? Well, get a nice view out the hotel window. What more do you want? Nah, but I did have a nice holiday. I did a lot of driving. I went France, Belgium, France again, then Belgium, then France, then back to England. And by that time I was completely exhausted. I've got a bacterial infection, so they give me a big dose of penicillin. They expect me to take, let me get this right. I'll just have a look at my label. So it says two to be taken 4 times a day, 250 milligrams. So it's 8 tablets times 250, so 2 grams of penicillin a day. Oh, and then the speculation to say, like, oh, take this medicine when your stomach is empty. This means an hour before food or 2 hours after food. Space the doses evenly throughout the day. Keep taking till the course is finished. I'm like, yeah, well. I've not been taking them on an empty stomach. And last night with my meal, I had a beer. And I enjoyed it. So I was very sleepy after that beer. And I slept 9 hours last night. It was marvellous. Thoroughly recommend. If you're feeling ill, or you're feeling a bit low, just have a word with your body and just say, look, I'd really like to sleep 9 hours tonight. Can you make it so? It feels wonderful. I love sleeping 9 hours. In fact, when I'm better, and I know everyone says, oh, New Year's resolution, going back to the gym. No, you don't understand. I'm going to the gym not because I want to be fit and healthy, but because it helps me sleep. If I go and lift some heavy weights, like real heavy weights, at least do a squat of 100 kilograms. I might have to build up to that though, because it's been a long time since I've done squats. But anyway, squat up to 100 kilograms, which is a nice healthy weight. And then I will sleep so good. I really will. Oh, and then I can do some bench presses. I'm no good at bench presses, you see. My arms are weak. But if I did some bench presses, it wouldn't take many of them to tire me out. Oh, and then I could sleep 10 hours. Oh, that'd be so good. So, I'm not going to the gym to get fit and healthy. I'm going to the gym because it will tire me out and then I'll sleep good. And then one could argue, but Hobbit, if you're exercising to the point where you're sleeping deeply every night, that will make you fit and healthy as well, unintended consequences. But the primary goal is, I really, I really enjoy sleeping a long time, and I wish one didn't have to wait until they were ill and exhausted to do so. Because that was the other problem of my holiday. I love my relatives, I do, and they did, put on a good spread for me. Oh, by the way, they're all hobbits. My Christmas Eve dinner was boar and with chips and poached pears. Oh, I loved that. That was gorgeous. Had some lovely trout and salmon and salads and all sorts. And then my cousins put on a soiree, and there was various types of pasta with truffles in it, which I didn't particularly like. So I had a dish of courgettes and beef, which was far more to my liking. So anyway, the point being, they're all hobbits. They all put on a good spread, but they don't have the same appreciation for sleep I do. Sleep is great. Like, we should do more sleep. In fact, that's why I like my aunt, because everyone in her family sleeps until late. And I was suffering some pretty bad insomnia back then, so I was waking up at like 5 in the morning and thinking, right at 7, I need a wee. And maybe someone will be up and I'll have a coffee or a tea with them. And I was up, very quietly going to the loo, and nobody's awake. So I go back to bed, and then I wake up at 10 and I find people are waking up again. Marvellous time, really good time. But absolutely exhausted. I had all these plans for New Year's, and I feel guilty, and because I think my cousin was planning something special. Well, he runs a pub, so New Year's Eve is the pub. But I feel kind of, I feel like I let him down really because I said, "Oh, I'm looking forward to going to your pub," and then I met him the day before, and we did a tour of his town, and I was poorly equipped for it. I didn't have enough. Well, that was the thing, you see. I hadn't planned on like having any adventures, so I hadn't worn any coats, and I didn't have any boots on, and it was quite cold walking from one place to another. And then the day after, I felt so rotten. I had to go back and recover. And I said, "I'm sorry, I just don't have the energy to celebrate New Year's Eve with you in the pub. I'm going to have a quiet night in with my granddad," which is what I did. And that very night, I had a horrible fever, and 3 days after that, I was driving back to my father's, and fantastic fever. I had the heat on full blast in the car, 110 in Fahrenheit, or 43.8 degrees in modern money, and it was still cold. And then I spent 2 or 3 days over there, and I thought I have to get back home now. Then I got back home and I was like, "Oh, this is even worse. I can't swallow anymore. It's too painful." And then my mum said, "Oh, did you see the doctor? Did you see the nurse?" And I was like, "Well, I saw someone. I didn't ask who they were. And they prescribed me some penicillin. And the penicillin's worked." So, because there seemed to be this great excitement over the idea of, "Nurses can't prescribe you penicillin. You must have seen a doctor." And I was like, well, whoever I saw had a look at my tonsils and uvula and said, "Oh yeah, you have an acute sore throat, probably caused by a bacterial infection due to exhaustion. Here's a prescription for penicillin. Please take it and get better." So yeah. Anyway, it's been 17 and a half minutes. This phone has not died yet. I keep it plugged in now. And I think I should wrap it up there. But yes, that's the adventure I've been on. And I've just been out today to get some milk and to say Happy New Year to the cows. I like the cows, you see. They're nice creatures. I know people say that about chickens and dogs and what have you, and I like dogs, and I certainly like eating chickens, but I especially like cows. Very nice creatures, and I'm quite happy eating them too. But yeah, uh, cows make me happy. If you're not sure, go and a field of cows, and if they're not paying attention, you just start singing. Cows actually appreciate music. You can do all sorts of songs, and if they run away from you, maybe you've chosen the wrong song. But quite fond of classical music, yodeling, folk music. I just start singing whatever comes to mind, really. They don't mind repetition as well, so if you don't get bored singing the same song again, just do that. I quite like singing to them, provided nobody's listening. "Ride a cock horse to Banbury Cross to see a fine lady upon a white horse." And then I always get the other two sound. Hang on. It's "rings on her fingers and bells on her toes," which seems odd. "With rings on her fingers and bells on her toes, she shall have I'm not drunk. "She shall have fine music wherever she goes." And yeah, the cows will actually start ambling towards you from across the field, going, "Oh, there's music. Let's all keep within about 5 yards of the singer, but at the same time follow him with our heads." Fascinating creatures, completely unlike sheep. So I was trying to think, of another sort of social herding animal. I do like cows. Go say hello to some cows. And if you live in the middle of a city, then watch some videos of little girls playing the violin for cows. You'll understand what I mean. Toodle pip.